I want to make stuff that I'm hearing. I hop in right here in this little studio. I'm still in my discovery phase where I'm still learning. It's just when it all comes together, it all makes sense. I definitely started DJing first. I got into production probably like 2 years after I started DJing. I was really into more of like the mixing side of things. And then after a while, I started thinking like, I want to make stuff like this. I want to make stuff that I'm hearing, and I want to put my sound out into the world, the universe. I just didn't know what my sound was at the time. And I'm still kind of finding that little by little. It's all just trial and error. I hop in, blank canvas, and try to make it work. I'm still trying it out every day. I hop in right here in this little studio. It's pretty simple, but it gets the job done. So this is Ableton. I actually produced with Jeff some time ago on Logic Pro. That's where I started. And then I made the switch over to Ableton. I like that question. I want to think about it a little bit more though. Why did I make the switch? One of my friends actually bought Ableton and he gave me the second license to it. And I just started playing it with it one day, and I was using both at the same time, Logic and Ableton, and little by little I just started going fully on Ableton. Producing has probably been about a year now. Maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2. The first gig I ever played, shout out Jeff. He gave me that opportunity to play with him. He was actually playing that show, and he hit me up to play with them, and that was really cool. I had a boat charter that day with my manager, Steven, and I kept telling him like, we gotta make it in time for the gig. I remember the charter like running a little bit like late, so we were still in the water, and I was like, the gig's in like an hour, we have to park the boat, do all this stuff. And he's like, I'm gonna get you to your first gig, don't worry. And he actually got me to the first gig with like 3 minutes to spare. It was perfect timing, and it was a lot of fun. It was honestly COVID when I first started like DJing. I bought my first DJ board, started mixing in college. Then I kind of took a little break. When I got back, COVID hit, and I was pretty much doing it every single day. But it wasn't until like a year after that where I got my first gig. Shout out Jeff again. That was really cool because I got to experience what it felt like to mix on like pro equipment and not just my little DJ board. It was a V10 mixer, and I always heard about the V10, and that was like the first time using it. It was pretty cool. And then shortly after that, more and more gigs started coming up. Ali started through some shows too, which is pretty cool. The Green Room started off, and then into the Fort Lauderdale scene. Then started tapping a little bit into the Miami scene. Still not where I would like to be, but definitely meeting the right people. Playing more frequent gigs this year has been more frequent, which is pretty cool. Thankful for that. And I like playing at new venues because it's always a different vibe. I kind of look into the venue I'm playing at and build like a little playlist around that. And then the second I get to the venue, I just start ripping whatever I feel is necessary at the time, so it's always fun. Gente Groove has always put on solid parties, I will say that. We just had the last one in Miami. That one was really cool, I had a lot of fun there. But honestly, the ones in Fort Lauderdale have been insane because the people have been loving it there. And the crowd, the room fills up nicely, and people are just loving the vibes. All the lineups that Gente Groove has ever catered have been so different, all the sets. It's actually gonna be my first drop, official drop coming out. It's called Severed Funk. It's funky, it's the fastest BPM I've ever worked with, 132. I'm excited for that. It's a cool track. First time doing a higher BPM song, I usually work in like the 124 to 129 max, sometimes 120 when I'm feeling like a more chill vibe. But yeah, this one is cruising at 132. Every time I open up Ableton, I have no idea where I'm going with anything. I usually start with one element. Lately, I've been starting with, I have a process where I start with like a top loop and then kind of pull from that, chop it up to how I like it. And then I'll start building the drums out, try to make a bass line around that. Usually it takes me a little bit to come up with a bass line I like. I'll try like a few different things out. And then I'll just start adding elements little by little. I'll play with my MIDI or my keyboard until it sounds right. I'll take out whatever that, you know, the extra baggage that I don't need, and I'll make it. This track I actually started with some chords. Don't know if they're perfectly in key, but honestly, whatever. I don't want to think about that too much because I like the way it sounds, and based on the people that I've showed, they like the way it sounds too. So I've always heard like it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to overthink it so much. Kind of stemmed off, this one started with just like simple chords that kind of reminded me of the show Severance. This is what it started. I'll show you guys what the chords sound like. So if you hear the Severance show intro, it kind of sounds similar to that. So I was kind of using that as my idea, like the template. And I found these really cool like vocals on Splice, like some Brazilian funky stuff, and Severed Funk came to life. So this is the first release on the Gente Groove. They just started the label. I really believe in it. I think it's gonna be really cool how there's gonna be a lot of different genres and varieties, but it's all, Jeff was mentioning something about a mosaic, kind of all these different things that all come together in one at some point. And that's the essence of the whole like La Gente Groove party, which is really cool. And I think the song could capture that. There's a lot of different elements. There's the funkiness of the Brazilian vocal. I think it's Brazilian, I hope it is. But yeah, it's just when it all comes together, it all makes sense. That's the importance of it, mainly. With the gigs I've gotten in the past, usually all it takes is just one track that I find the week of the gig that I know I want to use, and then I'll kind of just find tracks that would fit well with that one track. That's pretty much how the planning goes into a set, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stick to that planning. I just like to have like an idea of where I'm going to go, kind of based on the venue too. But it really just comes down to one track that I really know I like, and I really know I want to play it. I really want to show off to my friends or whoever's on the dance floor at the time. I haven't been DJing as much at home as I used to. I've been mainly hopping on here because I want to find ways to be creative on Ableton. The DJing part is definitely fun. It's just in my apartment, it gets kind of tricky sometimes because these speakers will have everyone complaining at some point. But yeah, I definitely want to get back into DJing more for like practice and fun because I do really enjoy it. But the reason I do it is really just to like show my friends and my people like what I'm into, and like I want to, you know, show them a way to get into it too. Favorite part about DJing would definitely be digging for music, digging for tracks. That's always the most fun part for me, I guess, before the gig. During the gig is finding what works best with the track that I'm currently playing. Favorite part about producing, and I'm still in my discovery phase where I'm still learning. That's why I'm trying different things. That's why this one's 132 BPM, first time trying that. I still have a lot to learn. I'm having fun with the process though, but favorite part about producing is finding out what I don't know and then learning that little by little through trial and error. And also just starting a project completely blank, not knowing where it's gonna go, and then coming out with something. Some nights it comes out fun and exciting, really good. Some nights it comes out like complete shit, but you still gotta go through both. I have a gig tomorrow night in Wynwood with the Out of Bounds crew. 2025, Probably like 9 or 10 times, which is pretty good. I'm happy with, because compared to last year, probably played like 4, 5, 6 maximum shows. So this year has been more frequent. That's pretty cool. It's exciting. It depends, because since I'm still in the starting phase, usually it's like familiar faces. I have experienced some crowds where like it's mainly people I don't know, like random people that just enjoying the music. That's been cool too, but honestly, when I'm logged in having fun behind the booth, it kind of takes all that away. But yeah, I'm sure down the line when it starts, you know, if they start getting bigger and more people, then I'll get more, you know, like nerves, I guess. I made a track about this actually. It's called Writer's Block. It's still unreleased. I'm still working on it a little bit, but it's pretty much talking about MF Doom. There's an interview where he's talking about like writer's block, and he's explaining what he does when he has it, and it's really true. I try to do it too. Just step away from it for like some time, not too much time, maybe 10, 15 minutes, or maybe even a day, if that's what it takes, and then come back to it, revisit it, you know, do something else if your mind's not there, because I feel like all creative processes have this block where you can't just be, you know, flooring it every single time. But yeah, just probably do something else, or I'll try to start something new, see if a new idea comes out. I'll put it to rest for a little bit and then come back and revisit later when I feel it's ready. And if it still doesn't feel like it's ready, then I'll just rinse and repeat, do that same process. There was a few gigs, like smaller gigs, that I did like test my tracks on their sound system, and it sounded perfect. But yeah, I kind of get into my head sometimes, but I probably will start little by little. This track, Severed Funk, definitely gonna start playing that out, because I think that's the people mover for sure. The local music scene is very competitive, in Miami especially. I think mainly starting off in Fort Lauderdale has been pretty cool, because I think Fort Lauderdale needs some more of the scene, little by little, but La Gente has definitely made an impact in the Fort Lauderdale scene. And I think once that's dominated, you know, Jeff already tapped into Miami one time, and I think he's gonna do it again. But yeah, to go back to my main point, it's very competitive, but I think La Gente Groove has a good team behind it, and definitely the good sound behind it, the inspiration behind it is what I'm into also, so I think it's gonna be really cool. Yeah, during COVID, like when people weren't supposed to be getting together, like we'd still get together and like just party at my parents' house. And then my dad has this little office in the garage, and I would just like set up my little setup in there, and then we'd just throw a little party in the office. Felt like a little boiler room type of thing, but it was really cool. Yeah. Those got pretty rowdy. Party of like 6 or 7, but those got rowdy. First artist, DJ I looked up to, or that helped me discover this, was definitely Jamie Jones. Because I was into the scene back when I was like 14, like Ultra Music Festival, all that stuff, living in Miami. Or not even living in Miami, but like going to Miami as a kid. I would like sneak into Ultra when I was younger and stuff. And I've always been to like the EDM scene. And then as I got older, I kind of like got into some other stuff. And then in college, I went to EDC. Stumbled upon Jamie Jones in the Neon Garden, that's what it was called. And then I just completely fell in love with it again. It was really cool. I think it stems back to when I was a kid. Because my dad's always been into like the house music, and I remember he had paid for like the Sirius XM subscription, and one of the radios was BPM radio. So like he'd pick me up from school and have like the BPM radio playing. And I was like 5 or 6 at the time, and like I would like hear the beats. I also like have like ADHD. I don't know if I want to use that on the yeah. I think very quickly, I don't know. I think my baseline is pretty quick, like you were saying. So like I just heard the BPM of it, BPM radio, whatever, and I was like, yeah, this sounds pretty cool. From a young age. I was probably like 9, 10 at the time. When I realized I was like into that, I was like cool. And then a little bit older, started going to like Ultra Music Festival and like was just exposed to the Miami scene, I guess, from a young age, but not too much, just like, I guess, Ultra and stuff. And then, yeah, when I got older, then started going like more of the underground scene in Miami, and that's when I really started falling in love with it. It's called Severed Funk. Just not really a story. I just started messing with something new, and I liked what was coming of it. Just kept working on it. Sent it to Jeff, he loved it too, and here we are today. Gente Groove is putting it out on June 27th. I think there will be a release party in the works for sure, knowing Jeff. Tracks coming out on all the platforms, Spotify, Beatport, Apple Music, Amazon Music. I think this is gonna be the first release, so I'm excited.